Dr. Emmett G III, Dean of Africana Studies. We're here on November 13th on this Thursday. It's a little chilly here in Boston, but we warmed up because we got one of the greatest, if not the greatest MC on the planet in the history of hip hop, Rakim Allah. My brother, welcome to Berklee.
Peace and love, beloved. Thank you so much.
It's our most sincere honor to honor you and induct you in the Berklee Hip Hop Hall of Fame. Just for the archive, we reached out to you last year, and you had a conflict in the schedule.
Yes.
And so one of the things I said, brother, when you're ready, come on, right?
And thanks for your patience,
come
man.
on, man. Come on.
Much appreciated.
You know, we're here. We are excited about you and all that you've done for a long time. You've been one of the most consistent human beings, beyond MC, but human being in terms of what you believe, what you espouse, and what you do. And I'm deeply honored because you don't really do too many interviews.
Nah. It's funny. When I first started doing interviews, they would always get my words crossed up. So I kind of, stayed away from it. But it's good to get the info out there, and it's good to let people know what's going on behind the scenes and what you're thinking and how you're feeling, man. So you got to make sure you get that in. You know what I mean?
You've been in this culture for a long time, one of the architects, and from 85, 86 to 2025, how are you feeling about the state of hip hop, and how are you feeling about where we are headed?
I've been feeling good lately about it, man. I think even the younger kids are starting to understand the difference between, rap and hip hop, and why we refer it to as that. I think the younger kids understand the culture of it now. We've been, trying to express that for the last, so many years. But 50th anniversary, man, and just the information, getting out there is, starting to resonate with the kids, man. I hear young producers talking about they want to go back to the 90s style of making music. I hear young rappers saying, how they do appreciate the lyricism of the game. You know what I mean? It's, being a rapper is one thing, but being an artist is first and foremost. So I try to concentrate on that, man, and, look at it from a, humble view. But, some things that we have to address, our lyrical content, man. But I think it's turning in the right direction.
Man, it's undisputed you're one of the greatest MCs of all time, man. And as one who writes your lyrics, and like, how do you get from the pen and the paper to the musicality of the flow, the rhythmic content with the melodic contours and all the things that you do? Some of us who are trained musicians talk about the fact that you flow between the bar lines. Like you're not 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Like you pushing phrasing, you're pushing rhythm. How do you do that from paper and pencil to the stage?
I think I gotta contribute that to a mother and father, man. They brought me up on good music and jazz being like at the forefront. I remember being young and hearing jazz music and immediately understanding like the difference in the time. Our music, R&B is, mostly 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Jazz was, so intricate. I would have to sit there and wait for the 1. So doing that just gave me a profound understanding of time and space. So when I started, applying what I knew to MCing, I felt that it was, like I was cheating because I had so much information of time and space. 1, 2, 3, 4 to me was da 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 instead of bam, 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 bam. So just, understanding that and trying to make sure that my words also fit the style that I was trying to create. Well, I wasn't just throwing words in there to create some kind of syncopation or whatever, so it kind of, tied in together my background with jazz and my schooling, man. You know what I mean? I remember a teacher caught me cutting class. I had English during lunch. She came up to me, tapped me on the shoulder, turned around. She was like, she said, "You a rapper, right?" She threw me off. I was like, "Yeah." She said, "Well, you should be in my class." And that was English class. So when she walked, she spun off and walked away. I was just looking at her like, yeah, she right. So after that, man, I remember just being in English and just, absorbing everything there was to know about writing and expression and, understanding that, man. So I think a combination of both kind of got me here.
Now I read somewhere that you played the saxophone, man. Is that true?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Were you really good, bro?
Oh, I was good. I was real good.
Okay.
I was good.
Okay.
I played the alto sax.
Okay.
And I seen the baritone sax sitting in the corner. So I was like, "Teach, what's that?" He was like, I just kept asking. And finally he let me play it. But what was dope, he let me play it in first alto. So I was playing solos with it, doing, a little bit of everything with it. But yeah, man. Went to NISMA.
Okay.
Yeah, no doubt. That, again, understanding music, man. I love the form of music, and I love John Coltrane. My older brother, also played sax, so he would leave, and luckily he was lazy, so he wouldn't even take it apart. He'd just sit it in the case, and I'd go pick it up and try to do what he just did. But fell in love with the sax, and it was dope because, again, being able to play the melodies of the song gave me a better understanding of rhythm and things of that nature.
Okay. Now I'm gonna do another fact check, man, because they said you was a mad quarterback back in the day, bro.
Yes,
sir. You was ready to go play collegiate football, man.
Yeah. Eric B, a friend of mine, actually, I grew up playing football with. A brother named Alvin Tony passed away. Rest in peace, my brother. Yes, sir. And knocked on the door, and it was a time where I was training hard to get ready to go to college. I had a good opportunity to go out to Stony Brook, and I used to drag my brother out the house in the snow, throw the football. So I'm getting ready. So I said, I love MCing, but when I get to college, I need to be focused on what I'm doing. So I made a cassette tape. This device we used to use back in the day.
The then technology.
To record and play music, you know what I mean? So I took a cassette tape and recorded on both sides of the cassette tape. So I said to myself, when I get to college, if anybody, you walk down the hallway, it's gonna be a cipher. So I said, I gotta stay focused, but I will play my tape and let them know, that I do what I do. So I made this tape, and my man knocked on the door one night with Eric B. And I was always funny about people bringing people to my house that I didn't know. So I crack open the door, I look out, see my man, I see Eric B standing behind him. I'm looking at him like, open the door, I'm like, "What's good, man?" He was like, "Yo, I know. It's Eric B, man. He know Marley Marl and Mr. Magic. So, he got the eyebrows a little relaxed. But I'm like, he's like, "Yo, he's, wanna holler at you." Long story short, I took him downstairs and played the cassette that I made for college, which had the melody on it and just, rhymes and freestyling and all that. And the funny thing about it, he was asking me, what I wanted to do. I said, well, at this point, I'm about to go to college, so I don't really know if that's in my future, man. He said, "Oh, well, you don't really have to get too, caught up with it." He said, "You can do it where it's Eric B featuring you. You don't have to sign no, contracts. And if you want to continue later on, you can. If you want to, leave it alone, you can do that as well." So at this point, I'm like, all right, I ain't really got nothing to lose. I love him saying this. Might be something. Marley Marl and Mr. Magic was. I said, all right. We went to Marley Marl's house and recorded, check out my melody, and Eric B is present. And I remember driving back on the train, and I'm sitting there, I loved the experience that I just had, but, it was conflicting with You know, football.
Yeah.
I played football since I was 7. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, I said, well, I'm gonna ride this football thing and see what happened. And then if that don't work, then I'm gonna lean on this rap thing. Well, right away, the rap thing took off and I had to, you know, make a decision. You know what I mean? And you know, I think I made a pretty good decision because I'm only 5'8". Quarterbacks are 6'2", 6'3", you know what I mean? 250 pounds. So I think I made, you know, a good decision, man. But
You blessed us with that decision,
man. Thank you, man. Thank you. You know, at least something good came out of it, man. Because you know, I thought football was it for me. But yeah, man.
That's beautiful, man.
Grateful.
We all have stories. We all have stories. And in all of our lives, you know, we could have went left, we could have went right. You know, not knowing what the outcome is going to be. We have a number of amazing students from Berklee College of Music in here, and some of them are thinking about the industry and thinking about business and thinking about choices and decisions. And I know that you just shared that, you know, when you and Eric B started out, there was no real contract. And I know over the course of your longevity within, you know, the culture, particularly from a business standpoint, you've had some favorable experiences and some unfavorable experiences, you know. And so I just want to ask you, what advice would you give to these young burgeoning creators from your expertise and from your experience? And I don't want to pry into anything, certainly don't want to trigger anything, but from where you sit now, how can you bless them with a little bit of information that they clearly not going to learn in the classroom?
Well, I think the first thing, man, is embracing yourself and your talent. You know what I mean? And understanding, you know, how important it is for you to control that and not let nobody deter you. Because it's easy to be an artist and go to a label and they say, yo, we want you to sound a little more like, then you go home and make songs trying to sound like, and then there you go. You know what I mean? Now you'll never be what he is because you're trying to be like him. Knowing, you know, who we are and what kind of artists we want to be is important. What kind of music we make, and you know, we have to stick to that because in the long run, that's what brings longevity. You know what I mean? A lot of the artists that we look at today, you know, we admire them because they brought something, you know, that made us look at life different. You know what I mean? Not just listen to music different. So that's the difference. You have to be in tune with yourself to resonate with people like that. So that's, you know, number one. Number two is make sure you get a core people around you that you can trust when it comes to business. Lawyers, managers, accountants, very important. It's almost like something that, you know, you almost have to learn the business on the fly because, you know, it's something that you don't want to just sit back and let them, you know what I mean? You got to be hands-on, you got to listen, got to make decisions that's good for you. Only you know what's going to benefit you. Sometimes they might say, you need to go out and do, and you say, nah, that's kind of not what I'm trying to do right here. I'm trying to go this way, and no disrespect to that, but this is what I'm trying to do. So it's the same thing with business. Make sure you really understand, you know, what's good for you, what's good for your brand, and things of that nature. But having a team, you know, that you can trust when it comes to business is very important because, you know, signing contracts and things of that nature have you stuck or put on the shelf for years, or, you know, just, you know, in a bad contract where you're not getting money and putting a lot of work. So be very knowledgeable, you know, what you're doing out there.
Yeah, that's what's up. Thank you for that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you for that. That's learned knowledge.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Learned
Indeed.
knowledge.
Indeed. You know, and I've been through it myself, man. So I can tell y'all from experience. Me and Eric B, you know, we got to a point where we had different, I guess, goals in different directions, and we had a contract problem. Long story short, he came up with an idea. We had 3 records to do 3 albums left to do for the company. So Eric B goes, yo, Ralph, I got an idea, man. Let's do it like this. I do an album. That's him speaking. I do an album. You do an album. And then we'll do the third album together. And then when we're done with that, they got to re-sign us and give us more paper. So his thing was, I keep the paper for one album. You keep the paper for the second album. We get back together, do an album, then they got to give us more paper. So this whole thing. So, I'm like, all right, we can do that, man. I don't have a problem with that. So, of course, he did his first. And long story short, I guess it didn't come out the way the label wanted it to. He got kind of ghost. The project kind of, fell apart. And then it was time for me to do mine. Now, when I did his, I had to sign a contract to release myself off the contract so he can record by himself. No problem. He got all the money. Project didn't come out good though, but he did get most of the money. So now it's my turn. He got to do the same thing. He got to sign a contract so I could be a solo artist and him off. He didn't want to do that. That's what I said. So it got a little heated. You know what I mean? Sometimes you apply street knowledge in certain situations when you're from that. But it did get a little heated, and that's what we're getting at. These things, it's your livelihood. These things will make you explode. You know what I mean? Somebody that you thought was, good, just as much as you love them, you hate them just as much. So, it got heated. We got, without saying too much, you know what I mean? But long story short, the label figured out a way where I can record without him having to sign a contract. So it gets messy. Be careful with what you're doing again. Not having a good contract and a good business system will make you fall out of love with music, you think. But stay focused. That's not the music, that's the business side. You know what I mean? So just, be aware of that.
Man, you dropping gems. I want to ask you about your work ethic because nobody gets longevity. Longevity occurs because of one's work ethic and one staying focused.
Yes.
Relationships, making sure you have the right core team around you, making sure you make wise decisions, even when you have to come back from something.
That's right.
Never losing faith, never losing focus.
That's right.
And never losing that feeling of what it means to actually create something that didn't exist before to bless the whole world.
That's right.
Talk to us about your philosophical approach to your work ethic. What do you think about? How do you frame it? Is it a regimented thing, or is it something that you feel your way through a day, or how do you operate on a daily basis?
It's to me like a good way to explain it, man. Is it's exhausting. My manager laugh at me all the time. It's like I make things hard for myself. I always say like I'll go all the way around the world just to cross the street. But I think the journey is the goal, though. And I say that because when I'm thinking, I'll come up with, could be a phrase, it could be an idea, it could be a title, could just be a bar. But then I'll look at it and then be like, nah, that's just regular. So I'll take that 2, 3, 4 words, whatever it is, and I'll stretch it as far as I can to take it to, the highest point, the illest point, the most profound point, whatever I can do with that phrase or that title. I might sit there for an hour and, just, go through it, turn it backwards, think everything, whatever I can do to that word. And sometimes I come up with nothing. And I'll go back to the first thing I came up with. but and that's why I say I go around the world just across the
Mm-hmm.
street. But even when I do that, I think where I go prepares me for what I'm doing and just opens my mind up and just gives me this, profound thoughts of making a song or making a point.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
I mean, I'll often say that great people do the things that good people just won't do, right? And good people choose not to go around the world because they just want to cross the street.
Right.
But great people will do whatever it takes to get that meticulous, that uniqueness, that
Yes, sir.
delicate, you know, that
Yes,
that
sir.
ends up being your DNA.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
So there's nobody on the planet who can flow like you. There's no, it's, and
Thank
all
you,
of us
bro.
tried.
Thank you,
You know
bro.
what I mean?
Thank you, man.
And yet, you know, you have your own flair, you have your own flavor, you have your own flow, and that doesn't mean that other people can't be great,
Right.
right? And I think sometimes what we have to do is think about that work ethic
Yes, sir.
and not be willing to settle for just something that sound good.
Right.
It needs to be good,
Yes.
right? It just can't sound good. It needs to be good. So I
Indeed.
appreciate you sharing that.
Thank
Talk
you.
to us a little bit about, you know, the role of faith, spirituality, how you as a human being within a big ecosystem, you've made choices, and those choices may be perceived as courageous, but those choices are just you being you. You
Yes,
know,
sir.
can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Um, I think coming up young, making the wrong decisions got me on track. Um, not to put too much out there, but I grew up kind of fast. Um, Small town, Long Island, but it was a rough town, and um, found myself 11, 12 years old. I caught my first gun charge, and at the end of the day, you put things in perspective, and all I can hear and see was my mother uh, beefing. You know what I mean? Uh, and my father, my mother and my father, they had, of course, they had different, goals and things that they would have thought I was. But I seen that, and I got tired of upsetting them. Um, the first thing I did is I went out and found somebody from Zulu Nation, because this is what I heard was positive energy at that time. This is 80, like 83, 82, back in the day. And I remember doing that, and shortly after that, I found the Nation of Islam. But I just remember, like, my mother's face, my father's. I don't know if it was disgust, but definitely, he wasn't proud of who I was becoming. So once I found the Nation of Islam, I started studying, and immediately I realized, like, that's what I needed to foundate me. You know what I mean? And give me a sense of direction and a sense of oneness. And man, I started, you know, digging in and getting my hands on any kind of literature that I can find. But it definitely it definitely changed my life, man. And to this day, this is the things that let me know that I did something right with the craft of MCing.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
I contribute a lot of it, of who I am. The choices I made, the words that I choose to pick, the way I carry myself. All of that is, you know, from my mother and father, my journey, and from, you know, what I studied, you know, coming up, man. So it definitely gave me you know, a strong foundation to stand on, man. And, you know, I definitely contribute that to a lot of my success.
Yeah, man. I appreciate your transparency and your vulnerability
Yes, sir.
because I think it actually helps us to be human beings, man.
Yes, sir.
And as we are wrestling with all the things, man, as you said earlier, to find our core, find out who we are.
That's right.
And be okay with that.
Right.
And if we're not okay with that, change that.
There
right?
you go.
We have that power,
That's right.
right, to do that.
That's right.
And let any creativity be a manifestation of that inside of who we are.
Right.
Because every time you flow, man, every time, whether it's your album, whether it's a feature, and you've done a bunch of those, whether if you had people features on your products, man, or your projects, it's still you, man. It's still you, and we're all becoming our best iteration of ourselves.
Right.
And I feel that, man, as I listen to you over the years, including your new stuff, man. I want to talk about your new stuff. You know,
Thank
you know, your new stuff. I still feel is you,
Yes.
but I also feel the growth and the maturity in
Yes.
you, and how you're looking at the world, how you're looking at yourself,
Right.
and what you're motivating us to look at in listening to what you're saying to
Right.
us.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So talk
Very
to us about that
important.
new project, man.
Yeah, man, it was a dope project, man. I was able to produce the whole project, all the tracks. I did all the tracks and did all the scratching, all the DJing on the.
Wait a minute, all of that too? You did that?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
brother,
that's all
come
me,
on,
man. Yeah.
man.
So
Come
you know,
on.
it was fun, you know, showing that side. Like I always loved that. You know, I did a lot of the early beats. I ain't no joke.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, man. Juice.
What?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I could sit here all day, but yeah, I did a lot of, you know, tracks, but it was good to actually get the credit for it this time. Now, what was dope before is everybody thought Eric B was doing the tracks. Like we would sit down, we would do an interview, and they would say, "Yeah, Rakim, you write the rhymes," and then they would go, "Eric B, you do the beats," and I used to sit there and go. I never said nothing though, you know what I mean? Because it was the contrast of him doing the beats and me doing the rhymes is what made us a dope group.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I never said nothing until maybe a few years back, man. But it was good to do this album and let everybody know off the rip, like, yeah, I did these beats and I did the scratching, and you know, it was fun doing it. And it was always been a part of, you know, who I was. I always kind of wrote to what I gravitated to, or I would, you know, try to find a beat, make a beat that, you know, made me think the way I wanted to think. So I was always, you know, hands in on that. But it was, again, it was good to let everybody know, yeah, this is me. And what was dope too was the artists that I work with, a bunch of young, you know, hungry artists that, I guess, look at hip hop the same way I do. You know, that boom bap. We like, you know, the street. Culture of it, you know what I mean? Meaning, you know, not so much so radio friendly or pop or, you know, trying to reach for something beyond what this is, you know, just people that understand the ground roots culture. And it was a dope project, man.
Let me turn to our students. Anybody have any questions? Y'all in the room? Yeah. Oh, I love this. I love this. Start here. Introduce yourself.
My name's Samad. So here now from California. It's like kind of a two-parter, but the first one is when you came out, when you first started rapping, did you know you were going to be as influential as you were going so like pushing so many boundaries in hip hop? You know what I'm saying? Did you know that it was going to go this far when you first started? Or did you not know?
Nah, I really, you know, had no idea, bro. You know what I mean? Of course, you know, MCing is you know, your altered ego. You know, you brag about, you know, things you want to be, or you know what I mean, things you feel you are. And you know, in the beginning, that's all I was doing. You know, I said a phrase, I'm better than the rest of them. I knew I wasn't. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
My man.
I'm with you,
Thank
Amiri.
you, thank you. But just that, confidence, and I was hungry. I loved the art of it, man. But I had no idea that it'll bring me to where I'm at right now.
And second half, sorry about this. Do you remember? This is a while back, so I don't. If you don't remember, it's fine. But late '80s, going to a place called Pomona, California, and performing at a place called Grand Central Station.
Yeah, no
My
doubt.
dad
Remember
told me to ask about that.
Wow, dope,
I
dope.
wouldn't be the way I am if you didn't exist, because he started rapping and he was like, I need to be like competing with my favorite rapper. And you were his favorite rapper.
Wow,
So then
dope,
it like
man.
passed down to like now second generation.
Wow,
That's
dope,
beautiful,
man.
man.
Hey, tell Pops I said peace and love too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
I remember when I first came out there, like going on the road. I was young. I was 18, 19,
Well, it was an
20.
interesting place at that time.
Yeah, dope.
So-
You know what I mean? So I just remember going to these different places, and I would always take, even if I didn't get a chance to, and just stared out the window from my hotel room or on the tour bus going by. I would always try to soak in the fact that I was in these different places. And as a writer, I started to feel like I've been everywhere. I know what everybody thinking, even though I didn't. I was just looking from the window, but giving myself that point of view. This is how they live in Pomona. This is how they live in Chicago. This is how they live in Miami, and it just gave me a better understanding of trying to resonate with different people. Because we all the same, but these different places that we live gives us a little different DNA with who we are. You know what I mean? Our surroundings raise us, man. So I just remember going to places like that and just, one, being in awe, and then two, just trying to take it in so I can use it on my paper.
Amiri.
Yes, sir.
Miri from the Bronx.
All right.
You said you wrote Eric B as president in like before college.
Oh yeah. I was 18.
Yeah, that
18.
is crazy.
Hold up. Thank you.
So you were already that nice from that young.
Yeah.
How did you like not get into the trap of like you're on the road at 18, 19, just being like, I'm that guy.
Right.
How did you like decide like, nah, let me master this? Like, how did that journey happen?
That's a good question, man. Because when you out there on the road, it's one thing that was on my mind. It's like, my moms and pops trusted me to go out there and, see the world and be responsible at the same time. A lot of temptations, man. It's a lot of trouble to get into, but every day was a different state, and every day I got to meet new people. A lot of times, every day I would get to talk to them like we talking now, and the feedback that I was getting was informing me of who I was. You know what I mean? I'm a modest person to this day. You know what I mean? It took people telling me who I was for me to understand that. You know what I mean? Again, I'm writing rhymes. I'm hoping that it resonates with people, but you never sure. You know what I mean? But when people come up, yo, Rob, your song, I love your song, and the early years, yo, I love your song, this and that, boom, boom, boom. Later on, it became, yo, Rob, I grew up with you. You helped raise me. So that's words like that kind of let me know who I was. So I took it more serious, understanding what my job was and how people felt about me. So man, just listening to words like that, man, kind of made me stay focused and want to be better and be the person that they was talking about.
Me?
Yep.
Oh, Orion from the Bay. My question is, when you started to hear the influence you were making with other MCs and artists,
Right.
while you were still very like young and active in the game? Was it more as if, oh, that's my flow, like look at my influence, or was
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
hey, that's my flow?
Nah, I gotta be honest. I gotta be honest. It was a little bit of both because like I sampled. I was a big sampler. So James Brown was one of my big influences. So I took James Brown. You know what I mean? But I took his songs because he inspired me. You know what I mean? To the point where so I had so much love and admiration for James Brown and what he did. I love sampling his music. So when people started taking from me, it was that feeling like, yeah, they like what I'm doing. But then every now and then you gotta blow your own horn and say, yeah, they biting. You know what I mean? They taking my style. You know what I mean? I'm doing something that they like. So, you gotta, being an artist, you gotta be humble. Stay humble, one, but it's all right to look around and know what's going on and call it like it is, man. I don't know.
How you doing? Peace and love to you.
Yes,
My
sir,
name is
my man.
Juan Brunis. I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana.
Yes, sir.
How would you deal with the conflicts and problems that came with going into the music industry, especially like rap and stuff?
I mean, at the end of the day, if you passionate about, your music, man, you won't let nothing, slow you down, won't let nothing hold you back. Regardless to what's going on and all of that too. You know what I mean? Like right now you got in all genres, you got different music going on and every artist got a choice to make what they want. And that's when it sets in. When you're sitting in that room, that's the choice that you make. You can comply with everybody, like, well, this what I'm passionate about, but if I do it like this, maybe I'll get in. Nah, that ain't what it is, man. You got to stay focused to what you want to do, what kind of music you want to bring to the table, and regardless to what's going on at the time, bring your music to the forefront, man, because that's the album that we all gonna be rocking to this. But then all of a sudden, it's always an album that comes from left field, and we go, ooh, who's that right there, man? And we tune in, and then before you know it, it's a whole new genre because this dude came in with something different that he didn't, want to comply with everybody else. So, that's where it is, man. You gotta, come up with your idea of what you feel music is and what kind of music you make and who you are. Stick to that and bring it to the table regardless to what's going on.
Yeah.
No doubt.
I just want to know, like, do you have any favorite like new gen artists you've been
Um,
listening to?
yeah, I try to keep my ear to the street. You gotta know what's going on, but staying a fan of hip hop is what uh, allows me not to get too cocky. You know what I mean? But I like some of the new artists like Crooked Eye, um, the Butcher,
Butcher.
Conway, um, some bars. You know what I mean? Bars. Because we need that right now with
Yeah.
the scale of our genre. Um, it's dope that it's lucrative. You know what I mean? And that hip hop. We make a lot of money in hip hop, and it's become the biggest genre in music now. Years ago they was about to cast us out, and it was like, this ain't gonna last. It's hoodlum music, and I felt like that explaining to my moms and pops when they was like, yo, no football. And I was like, it was like rap, football, and that's when it set in like, and you feel all of the bad, but it's man, listen, man, just stay focused, man, and do what you feel is what it is. That's it.
Any other questions? I'm gonna ask y'all this. Did the brother drop some gems today?
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you.
Was your life changed today because of being in this space?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think we did our job then, right?
Yes, sir.
think
I'm
we
glad.
did
I'm
our
glad
job.
so. I'm
Yeah,
glad so.
Yeah.